Hey guys, welcome to another week at the YTCA, where we'll be talking about new topics. My name is Nick,
I'm Theo.
And I'm Ezra.
and welcome back. This week, we're going to be talking about our topic of procrastination and the lack of motivation. But first, just a couple things, as usual. Please follow our Instagram, and look at and we have a lot of information, really great information on our website as well. So if you guys are interested in any of that, if you guys want to know anything else, you guys can go online, right? There's a great website. Our website is great, made by the one and only Theo here, and yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna kind of jump into today's topic. Since we're talking about procrastination, right? Let's talk about some of the more fundamental things about procrastination. First, what are some of the things that make you procrastinate? What do you guys think?
I think when you kind of I mean everyone like knows that procrastination is like slacking off at work and whatnot, and everyone, or at least most people, would consider it like a relatively bad thing. Like you don't want to procrastinate. That's usually like the opposite of what you want to do, right? I think, however, even though we know it's like bad, a lot of the times it's um very easy to in the moment like kind of justify it. Like say if you're tired and like you just got out of a long school session, you feel tired. Maybe you just don't feel up to do your work. Maybe you have a lot of time on your hands, and maybe you're like, oh, but like I deserve like a break. I think you almost make excuses to yourself where you're like, oh, but I deserve it. Like I need to take a break. Um, or like things come up like, you generally try to, take a break and whatnot, and then it spirals into like 2 hours on YouTube or like I don't know, I don't play League of Legends, but I assume like a couple games on League of Legends take up a lot of time. So I think a lot of the times what starts out to be a small break becomes a like 2 to 3 hour session of just being lazy.
Yeah. I myself, I don't procrastinate that much, but
Oh
I have
wow.
to say that a common trend I've seen with a lot of people is that, the farther the deadline, for the assignment or anything like that, the more you tend to say like, "Oh, I have more time. I can finish this, maybe like 3 days before the due date." So like um I guess like the further the due date, of course, the more you tend to procrastinate. Another thing is that sometimes we have a bunch of distractions like during online school. It's like
Oh
really
yeah.
easy to get on your phone and like I don't know, go on social media or watch Clash Royale. Not watch, sorry, play Clash Royale. um,
Oh.
yeah, it's just there's a bunch of distractions too that may make us procrastinate. I'm not an expert at it myself because I have no idea why I don't procrastinate, but it's
You're
just
just you're
my
just a star
nature.
student, Theo. You're like
Or
like for normal people, it's like, oh, if the assignment says it's due at midnight, it's due at midnight. For Theo, it's like if it's due at midnight, I'll finish it like the day before. Theo's that type of on top of it student.
I think I think it's different for a lot of people, right? It's not just we have different habits, and that's what makes us different, right? That's true. We're
Hmm.
not all the same. Well, if we're all the same, then that will be kind of weird, huh? We'll just be mindless robots, right? That's just doing whatever. Right? But we're not. So I think procrastination, right? I think for me personally, when I procrastinate, it's just I'm trying to avoid this task. I'm trying to avoid
Hmm.
doing it. But you know what? Some things you can't avoid, like homework. Just like how taxes, you can't avoid your taxes or you get in jail.
That's what you think, Nick.
But I mean, when you guys grow up, try not to avoid taxes because tax evasion is a very serious crime and we don't condone it here. But
Of course
right,
not. Of
there's
course
a
not.
lot of things you can't avoid. Right, in your mind, you're like, hey, we're just gonna stop thinking about it. Right?
Hmm.
like saying, I have a pen here. If I stop looking at this pen, does this pen just stop existing? No, it's still there. It's just I choose not to look at it. Well, unless something happens with the pen. But right, so that's the same thing with your tasks, your homework, and the things that you try to procrastinate on. You don't look at them, but they're still there. Because what happens is sometimes when I procrastinate, I have the feeling in the back of my mind that goes like, hey, something I have something to do. I have something I have to do. There's a task ahead of me that has to be accomplished. And I'm anxious. It makes me anxious. Like, oh my gosh, why am I not doing it right now? But I'm just so lazy. It's just that I know it's hard to describe that feeling, but it's a feeling of both. It's like I feel a little bit of anxiety at the same time, kind of like a false sense of joy, if I can say it that way. It's like I'm not doing it, so I'm technically, avoiding it, giving myself like a easier way. Um, and I think that mostly people like I think people for me, I think it's just more of I've tried to not look at it and but it's still there. And I
Mm.
realize it's still there, but I just choose not to think about it's there. Right? I try to fool myself. Right? That's how I procrastinate sometimes. But I try to stop that habit, of course. I mean, no one I think here wants to procrastinate for a prolonged amount of time, right? No one here just wants to push everything to the last minute because that's not a good habit, right? Like we want to build good habits, right? Because habits is how you shape the way you live. And I think without that kind of building up of good habits later in life, a lot of things you might struggle in. Because I think in adult life, procrastination, right, at work, or procrastination in other tasks socially, right, might actually decrease your social standings, and actually might cause you trouble, communicating with others, as others might see you as unreliable. Like, hey, I told you to get this done at 5 today. I gave you a week, and why isn't it done? Right? Did you procrastinate? Right? Like it's just that kind of thing like that. So I think that's what I observe about what makes me personally a procrastinator.
Another thing, I don't know if this is valid, but some people believe that their best work comes off when they have to rush it in the last minute. Like, at least not for me, it does not apply. But I understand that if you think that your best work comes good, you know, during like the last few days before the assignment is due. But usually your best work comes if you spend time on it a little each day.
Right.
I have to say that one thing that makes me not procrastinate is the anxiety that Nick talks about. I have that anxiety that's like super severe. Like I don't like the feeling of having an assignment like hanging over your head, if you know what I'm meaning. Like
Mm.
the assignment's due and like I haven't completed it. It's a weird feeling, but I think that's the one reason that I don't procrastinate because I have feelings like those. And also like I don't know, but sometimes I like genuinely like doing the assignment. It's only in some cases.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
if I have to say that if you genuinely like doing something, like you tend to not procrastinate on it. Like I like video games. It's not like I procrastinate by not playing video games. I mean, that's kind of a bad example because no one assigns you to play video games. But you get my point. If you like something, you tend to not procrastinate at it. So if you force yourself to like something, okay, that probably won't work. But maybe if you try, liking school or like liking the stuff you do, you may not procrastinate as much. I don't know. That's just what I think.
I
I
think
like in
I
school,
think
huh?
both of you bring up a very I think both of you bring very at least a relatable and applicable example of the anxiety you feel when you're not getting something done. And I think in my experience and what I've seen, a lot of people, especially like other people, like close people I know, um, what they'll do is usually it starts off with like, oh, like they just don't like doing the assignment or doing the work. And what ends up happening is um, that anxiety they get from like looking at it or thinking about it makes them avoid it. And so what and because of that, right? Because they avoid it, the anxiety builds up. Obviously, the deadline grows closer, anxiety builds up, and that makes them avoid it even more because you don't want to deal with it. It makes you anxious, it makes you stressed, and sometimes, um, even worse, it can make you depressed, and it can make you really hyper, give you like really high, well, I know I already used anxiety, but high anxiety, right? And so you avoid it more, and then it builds up, and it's kind of this cycle of um, what I guess would be the definition of procrastination, which is the cycle of being really um, stressed about something and avoiding it in a way that makes the stress even worse. And so, um, obviously, to break that cycle, you work really hard at completing the assignment so that you don't get stressed about it. But it's very deceiving because it doesn't feel um, it's like deadlines don't like approach like instantly. It creeps up on you and it snowballs and it becomes this huge thing that you get so worried about. Um, that's kind of the feeling I had like a few days ago about like an essay that I had. I kind of procrastinated on it. I put it off because I had a lot of other work and and then as I continued to put it off, like I got more stressed about it and I had to come to that realization that like, hey, the only way I'm going to get rid of the stress, um, even if it kind of sucks that I have to work on this, like that's the only way I'm going to get rid of the stress. And um, still not done with the assignment, but we're getting there.
Nice.
I think all of us agree that, right? We need breaks. Right? None of us are gonna say we can't. We're not machines. Well, even machines need breaks, right? Even a machine needs to sometimes stop and get there needs to be maintenance checks and things like maintenance performed on. And of course, we're not that. We're not machines, even though our human bodies are very intricate. But right, we need breaks, and I think we need to have some time to take off and just stop thinking about something like this. But I think if you're stressed about this, I mean, I always tell myself, do something about it. If it's stressing you out, do something about it. Don't just sit there because right last time we talked about anxiety. Like sometimes some things that are in your control and not in your control, right?
Hmm.
In some cases like the homework, right, and things like that, there are in our control. I am the one doing the homework, right? Then
Hmm.
I need to be the one doing something, taking initiative there. I shouldn't be relying on someone else to do it for me because, well, who is going to do my homework for me, right? Unless, well, no one should do your homework for you, of course. That's given. But I think it's important to see that a lot of people's like, hey, breaks. And then yes, I do recognize great. I take breaks sometimes. I think all of us take breaks, right? But we have to recognize what's that line between how much break we take, right? How to transition from that break period into work period, and how to blend those two together. And that kind of really brings us into kind of the idea of time management, right? You have to manage your time properly. You have to have a little schedule, right? Because for me personally, what I do is I don't really have a table or anything. I just have a mental image like this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Like I basically embed into my system ever since the start of quarantine, basically a routine that I practice every day. This is when I work out every day. This is when I go, if I have time, this is when I play video games. This is when I eat. This is when I spend time with family or whatever, right? I have a schedule that's basically embedded into my mind at this point. So I don't even really think about it and I just do it. Right. So I think having a timetable is really useful like that. But with that being said, what another thing that you could do, which I don't really recommend unless you really like doing this, is if you really stress about this homework assignment, do it on the first day. Finish it all in the day. That's what I usually do. I usually, for example, I had a biology worksheet today, and I was like, it's only 2 pages. So I was like, hey, I can finish it today. Why not do it? So basically, I take 10 minutes out of my lunch period and I put it into the homework section. So I know I sacrificed some of my lunchtime, but I know that it's finished. So it doesn't have to be staying in my mind anymore. Because what if I forget about it? Because sometimes I don't have the good habit like some other people to write down, how many assignments. Like I know Ezra, you probably do it. Theo, you guys probably have really good habits of keeping track of things. I keep track of things mostly mentally. So sometimes I forget. A lot of times I forget. So in order to combat that, which is my personal solution, is just to do it early, and of course do it well. Don't rush it. If I know that this assignment I don't understand something, I will stop. I won't do it because I'll understand it first and then do it. Right. So I think here a lot of this is more about personal preference. I think about procrastination. So yeah, I want to hear what do you guys think? What are some of your strategies personally?
You're the not procrastinator here. Do you have any tips and tricks?
I think that if you have a really strong mind, it's like easy to not procrastinate. But if you're like the guy who's like, oh, but I can do this, I can do this, I can, I have this rule that makes basically I have this rule that says that I can't play like video games officially until 8 p.m. I know
Mm,
that seems kind of weird and maybe a little bit too strict, but like I have like certain rules that I abide to at all times, like so I don't slack off and like not do my work. I don't know if that helps, but like what Nick said, you should manage your time, and most of all, you have to stick to the schedule you make. If you don't stick to that schedule, you're probably going to procrastinate. I don't know, to combat that, you can maybe like have your friend keep you accountable or something like
uh-huh.
that. I haven't done this before, but like, your friend could text you like, what are you doing right now? And you can say like, "Oh, I'm actually doing my homework for once." I don't know. I don't know if that helps or anything, but I heard that if you have someone keep you accountable, it may help you. I guess another thing is to get rid of the distractions that make you procrastinate. I know that like it may not always be effective, but sometimes like we need that small push to like make us not procrastinate. For me, I got rid of YouTube because like that just makes me kind of waste time a lot. I mean, it used to make me waste a bit of time. Another thing I may have got rid of, well, I don't have any computer games on my computer, so I don't know. That's not anything I got rid of, but like um I don't know. It's just that I think that if you really like working in a sense, like doing a good job well done, like I think you'll not procrastinate as much because if you know the satisfaction that you get from like, oh wow, this is like a really good essay I wrote,
Mm,
or like, oh wow, this is a really, I don't know, good test I did. Like I think that satisfaction is what keeps me from not procrastinating, because like
mm,
once you get that satisfaction of like, oh wow, I actually spent a lot of time in this and got a really good grade, or like people are really happy with me, like you kind of feel like you don't need to procrastinate because you want to put your best work into it as much as possible. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but that's kind of what I think.
no, no, no. I definitely agree. Accountability and dude, misunderstanding. Accountability and um scheduling and taking out distractions. Like the I think they're a little cliche almost, but I've definitely used them before. And while it's hard to like stay super disciplined to always use them, I think they are very effective. Um, and I think, but like, I think another thing that might be helpful to combat kind of procrastination. I mean, I know, it's like one of our topics is lack of motivation, right? Lack of motivation and getting started on work in the first place is really hard. Because like probably, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but generally I feel like getting started is the hardest part. You know, making yourself sit down and start doing work. And then like once you get the ball rolling on work, you can generally keep it going at an okay pace. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not, but generally it's easier to like keep working than it is to start working. And I think one way in which like we kind of convince ourselves to not work is to be like, oh, like I'm gonna take like a 30-minute break, or I don't need to do this right now, it's due a little later, right? And so one thing that I've been trying to practice lately is um taking like what catching myself doing that and saying, wait, hold up, you could be taking a break right now, or you could finish the work and take the break later. Because usually, and this isn't all the time, but usually you're not going to be working 24/7, right? Usually, a lot of the times, I mean, that's kind of what procrastination is. You slack off and then you do all your work at the end, right? But catching yourself and like making sure that you start work at the beginning and like making sure that you stay focused. Even it doesn't even have to be like the whole time. It can like be in like 30-minute intervals, right? Um, is is just really like starting is just really important, and it's also a really hard skill to train because you're not gonna become like Theo over here in a day, right? It takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of practice, and you're going to fail at first. So, um, I guess for people who are watching, yeah, just try it. Take the time out of your day to like actually start like focus, and then even if you can't focus for that long, at least start with that, and then from there, um, keep trying to catch yourself doing that. Keep trying to um, make sure that you're not just making a dumb excuse to like take a break, because then that'll like I said before snowball into like a 2 hour YouTube session or something.
Especially if any of you guys are listening are Christians, I think something that you could do is pray. And I think prayer, right, as we said before, is a very powerful weapon, a very powerful arsenal that we have. It's something that you basically ask God to help, for Him to help you focus, for Him to help you, to kind of clear your mind of any distractions. Or, for those of you non-Christians, something that I've tried before was meditating, or just, moment of silence, nothing. Kind of just don't think about anything. Right? Try to clear your head of anything else and then get to it. There's always different kinds of methods. The important thing is here is it's your genuineness of actually desire to be productive. Your desire to be productive, right? You recognize that you've been procrastinating and you want to be productive, right? Because if you don't recognize that you're procrastinating, you're never going to be productive. You don't like only a sick goes to the doctor. A healthy person doesn't need to go to the doctor, right?
I mean,
I mean, usually usual usual places, right? So that's the same idea here, right? You have to realize you're procrastinating, right? You realize it's a problem, kind of go and fix it. I think that's probably the most important part. And I do agree with, as I said, basically about the avalanche that starts, with a single drop, a single snowflake, you know, or a single bad habit. Whether you want to remove the distractions physically or mentally, it's up to you. It's whatever works the best for you because this is a personalized experience. We can't really speak for you. We don't know what you're going through. Whether you have some friends available who are able to keep you accountable, or there's some physical distraction, or there's something happening elsewhere, right? We don't know. But what we know is this: we know that if you find someone within yourself to kind of wanting to be bucked up, you find it someone within yourself to identify that you need help. The help will come. Then you will be able to get out of this. I think that's very important. Um, and I think a big aspect of this is we're in COVID, right? Time flies by really fast. Every day seems like the last. So procrastination is more likely to happen. Everything is more likely to. We're more likely to just to talk, right? We're more likely to just do something else. Right? So I think keep that in mind. And for those of you guys who are listening to this, we believe you. Right? We believe that you'll be able to get out of this. If you need help, we're here. Come to our support group.
yeah, I was about to segue, if you need people to keep you accountable, if you just need people to like work with, like, you can always join our support group. Um, link for the interest form will be down in the description,
As always.
as well as our website and our Instagram. So be sure to check them out if you need help with procrastinating or motivation or any of that.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that's probably a good place to end off. I know we didn't touch on some of the topics, but don't worry. We will talk about it next week. Anything we don't cover, we'll talk about next week. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions, please leave them down in the comments. And we'll be able to read them. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for dropping by this week. It's always fun at the YTCA. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.